Travis went good, so. It is extremely frustrating to get through to people who have been damaged by evil disposed persons in the world with misinformation. Apparently, people who are maliciously misinforming are easily believed. And when you merge it with Mormonism, with the read, ponder, pray, get a feeling, and there you think you know everything, people are not only unable to be communicated with because you can't understand them, but they can't correctly comprehend what you're saying. And they can be weaponized by these evil people who are controlling their agency, who are controlling their beliefs, who are controlling their actions, who are controlling their thoughts, who are controlling their feelings. So, yeah, I did start watching MK Ultra that I had obtained this past week. Sunday, isn't it? Wow. Time is just flying. But these malicious people are able to brainwash the masses without drugs. The church is able to brainwash many Mormons, at least in the millions, without drugs. Because they even say we're not allowed to have drugs. That takes a level of maliciousness to be able to deceive people. A mass group of people without drugs. And so I had one comment that was not on YouTube. This was a separate site. He had previously obtained some publications of mine, and he made a comment. And he came back with a follow-up comment after obtaining the information 3 years ago. My goodness. It's taken him that long to research my book. But he says, I see we share similar interests. You must be very knowledgeable. The book is The Paleo-Hebrew Alphabet, The Complete Scientific Research. It's all science-based for linguistics. It's my decipherment of the script. There is nothing in there that is non-science biased. I looked for patterns. I developed theories based upon the anomalies and ran the tests. to see if I can replicate. There is no opinion. There is no belief system involved. It is just straight, hardcore, scientific facts. So yeah, he's right. I am very knowledgeable. But after flattering, pacifying me, he then says, "Did you know the earth is not moving?" I hope he's referring to the news reports that came out a couple of months ago about how the molten core may not be moving. That's completely different than the earth is not moving. But when you get people who do not understand what they're hearing, who cannot distinguish fact from opinionated lie, you get problems. Another problem I ran into today was a comment on YouTube about how a person is trying to search for Emmanuel. Those of you who have been following me and are not brand new are aware that the Book of Mormon says it's in the learning of the Jews. So it's not literal history. None of the characters in there are real. None of them existed. Because it's the learning of the Jews. Which the Book of Mormon, as you continue to study it, tells us it's a manner of prophecy, which is revelation for the latter days. And so, like John's book of Revelation, none of those characters are real. They did not exist. There are no dragons. There are no flying horses. There are no beasts, frogs coming out of people's mouths, and Jesus. But, no buts. Jesus, in the book of Revelation, is a character used for prophesying of the latter days as a type and shadow of Emmanuel, the Jewish Christ. Thus, Jesus, in the revelation of Matthew, the revelation of Mark, the revelation of Luke, the revelation of John. Another Revelation book, but told in a different story form. Likewise, Jesus is not real. He's not a literal historical character. The stories are not literal history. They are revelatory types and shadow symbols of the latter days. Jesus is the symbol of Emmanuel. Because it's the learning of the Jews who wrote these books. Likewise, the stories in Genesis, the stories in Exodus, Deuteronomy, which tells us the Christ of the Jews would be a man like Moses. Stories of Samuel with Eli and his 2 sons who die tomorrow. Revelation. And I did that video for you. Well, it was part of the trilogy video series, wasn't it? I put it in there. But yeah, tomorrow. That is the fulfillment of that scriptural prophetic revelation for the latter days. Tomorrow, May 1st, 2023. Because the sign in the heaven. And so I'm curious to see what's going to happen as an event on earth. But the story is fulfilled with the sign in the heavens tomorrow. The death of the high priest, who was disobedient, and his 2 sons dying, which corresponds with the story of Pharaoh and his 2 sons, which was technically just 1 son. The son dies, and so what does that mean? It means there's no heir to the throne. The dynasty has ended. It has collapsed. It has fallen. And so as Pharaoh died in the floodwaters, oh, wouldn't you know it, we're having the second wave of flooding. So the question is, who is the false prophet, the evil high priest? Because it's not Emmanuel. He's the good guy. And this is where Mormons, by refusing to learn, by refusing to study, having been maliciously brainwashed, are weaponized whenever anybody says anything contrary about the great and abominable church of which they are a member of. Because they don't make the connection that if Jesus isn't real and was created by Roman Emperor Constantine, and Joseph Smith in his first vision in verse 19 says that Jesus is an abomination, that the great and abominable church is Christianity, with Jesus Christ as the Christ. And thus any prophet leading it is the false prophet, just as the Book of Mormon tells us it is. And so, yes, Mormons, the Book of Mormon is true, but you don't believe it. And you lie about the Book of Mormon, saying that it's another testament of Jesus Christ. And anybody who says anything else contrary to that, you attack. Because the only other explanation other than brainwashing is that you're just so dumb that you can't catch on when you read. That you were somehow pushed through school to get a certificate of graduation when you shouldn't have. You should have been dropped down to the remedial English class. Which in Southern California, when I was going to public school, yeah, we had the remedial class. They didn't tell us about it. We had so many students that they were able to divide the remedial kids into a classroom and not let any of the rest of us kids be the wiser. And so Laura Baker, who I had a crush on because she was the only Mormon, had a crush on Kevin and purposely dumbed herself down so that she could be with him. I understand she went on to get a master's degree, if not working on her PhD or got her PhD. I never thought I'd hear from her again or know of her again. And lo and behold, I ended up finding out about her. So good for her that she had made something of her life. But I just, if you were that stupid, there'd be no way you could live on your own. You'd have to be living with mommy and daddy still. And so I can only logically conclude that you've been brainwashed. And you're unable to recognize it and pull out of it. And so, who is Emmanuel? I have tried to educate you on the checklist of the prophecies, just as I just showed you how to identify the false church with the false prophet. There's a checklist involved. So the name of the church is going to be with Jesus Christ. They're going to economically hold Mormons in bondage. Tithing. They're going to be practicing polygamy. They're going to murder Mormons. They murdered Joseph and Hiram. Why do you think they won't murder Mormons? And etc., etc. They'll have as their symbol on the keystone of the doors of their temple the inverted pentagram of Lucifer. Their doctrine will be a doctrine of taking away people's agency. Oh no, Travis, I willingly let the church take my agency. Likewise with Emmanuel. Because the comment on YouTube was thinking that Trump was Emmanuel. Trump doesn't even have the name. Donald? Nope, not Emmanuel. John? Nope, not Emmanuel. Trump? Nope, not Emmanuel. And if you're confused that you have to look for somebody with Emmanuel, no, because that's the Egyptian word. It's a transliteration from the Egyptian that Isaiah is giving us. And so it does not mean God with us. Matthew is wrong. It means sun god. Sun at noonday. And so you're looking for a surname with God and Son. For example, Godfrey has God. So now you just need to find a God with a Son for a surname. Now I know those of you who don't believe in any of this religious crap, especially the enemy who's using the Bible and the star dates to coordinate their attacks on us, they don't believe in any of this either. It's too far out for any human to fulfill prophecy of the Jews. A mortal human. So much so that Constantine had to create somebody not real. And he didn't even fulfill prophecy, if you're going to take him literally. Because Jesus is not the name Emmanuel. And so it's not him. The name thing alone narrows down your checklist possibilities. And I did the video once, going over each and every single president of the church, or prophet of the church. Russell M. Nelson? Nope. Not Emmanuel. Irene? Nope. Oakes? Nope. Ballard? Nope. Holland? Nope. Nope, nope, nope. They're not him. And if you're saying, well, why would it be a Mormon? Again, I want to bang my head because you're not following me. Joseph Smith tells us he's Mormon in section 103, verse 16. And again confirms Mormons will be in bondage to the great and abominable church. And if they hearken to Emmanuel, the man like Moses, they will be freed. And so you can see my frustration as Mormons don't want to be free. They want to remain in bondage. They want to be weaponized to attack anybody who dares say they're in bondage to this church. Who dares to deny reality, deny science, deny logic. And so it is very frustrating because this is the final year of the latter days. 8 April 2024 is the last day of the latter days. And this is the year when it all hits the fan. And you don't even know you're supposed to be looking for somebody who's your actual Christ. Because you're still stuck on Jesus, waiting for him to come. Unaware that he's already supposed to be here. And again, it means Jesus failed again. Because he's a false Christ. So, there's nothing I can do. You're going to do whatever you're going to do. I've tried all different ways to present this, and I can't do it. if you won't let me. So